Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are, of course, your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast. I'm back with the dream team on the Fridays here. Big match preview, Manchester United on the horizon. I've only gone and got, as always, a top-tier panel in the house, looking better and better every time we see him. Dave from the Irish Hotspurs back. Dave, how are you? Couple of weeks off Last Word on Spurs. Is that the medicine for looking like that?
Yeah, I think so. I think, a bit of a break away from Tottenham at times does everybody the world of good. But no, look, I've had a couple of birthdays and stuff like that and things going on. So, I've just been a busy boy, but I'm refreshed and I'm back. I'm not looking back for 34 years of age, am I?
I love that. Back also on the show, look, they are the best looking ones from the Spurs 5. We're only the best lookers on here. Have a look. Back alongside us in the house. Jonathan Hammy's in the house. John, how are you? Football Inc.'s very own. John, you well?
Yeah, all good. Exciting. Really looking forward to the weekend's fixture before we have yet another break from football. It's not healthy. Some find it very healthy. I don't find it very healthy. I just pace up and down, waiting for the football to start again. But some, it's a welcome break. But Dave's looking very good on the welcome break, I must say. Looking like he's ready to start doing some shows, mate.
Well, he's talking Tottenham daily. I mean, he's got a lot of home games to cover. That's why he's looking like he's looking at the moment. Maybe quite gaunt at times. Also back on the show, he's not looking gaunt. He's going through what we've all gone through over many, many years as Spurs fans. Lubo's back for the Spurs 5 as well. Lubes, how are you? Love to be in the house. You well?
All good. Lovely to be back. Hi to everyone watching as well. Nice to be on the show. I think I've seen 23 different videos from different angles of Mickey's goal on Tuesday. So it's been a better week this week, but pleased to be back. Yeah,
absolutely, mate. Lovely to have you here. Look, big, of course, weekend for Spurs coming up. The battle commences or resumes between Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester United since the first time they do meet from that Europa League final. Of course, Tottenham coming out on top, and after 10 games so far, Tottenham do sit 6th in the Premier League. United currently 8th, and yet both managers still had their fair share of stick throughout the season, both Thomas Frank and Ruben Amorim, but they do sit in a position now where, depending on results over the weekend, Tottenham can hit the dizzying heights of 2nd in the Premier League, and Spurs are looking for, at this point, back-to-back wins after thumping Copenhagen by 4-0 in the Champions League. And, of course, that follows a disappointing exit in the Carabao Cup to Newcastle United, and, of course, that defeat to Chelsea last weekend. So far, Spurs and United have both won 5. They have lost 3 of their opening 10, while scoring Tottenham 17 goals in the process. As for Spurs, we've conceded half as many goals, 8 versus the 16 that we've conceded. Lubo, we'll start with you. Big game this weekend. Another chance for Frank to land a Premier League home statement win.
Yes, I think it's going to be interesting after Tuesday nights, where we looked, the handbrake had come off a little bit. He was only playing starting with Bentancur rather than the 2. Will he stay with one of the 2? Will he bring Polinia back in and keep Sarr in? Kudus, touch and go. I'm reading for tomorrow. Simmons is good. He had a very good game on Tuesday. I just got that feeling. We're due a result at home, and we're due a performance at home. Mwani's looking like a proper striker. It was just in flashes. Before anybody says yes, I know he missed a header from 3 yards. He was in that position.
I mean, he's looking like a proper striker by Tottenham standards, Lube, at the moment.
I just think it augurs well for tomorrow. I'm confident we'll come away with the 3 points. I really am. I just think we're due a result. I think if we can finish top 4. We're just outside the top 8 in the Champions League, still unbeaten. Yep. One of only 4 clubs with Inter, Bayern and Arsenal. For me, I think if we get a result, you'll look at the overall picture from August 16th to tomorrow, and I think it'll be, in 12 weeks. I think he's done a good job, Frank.
Okay.
Listen, really good.
Thank you so much for that. Listen, during the show as well, we're bringing you obviously a lot around already. The transfer speculation has started, and these boys will be involved heavily, I'm sure, across the next couple of months on their own respective shows and on Last Word on Spurs, bringing you all the latest in the transfer market. Reportedly, Spurs are looking to tie down Mickey van der Ven to a new contract. That's understood to be a priority for the football club. We'll be coming on to the latest in regards to that. We'll also be bringing you news about Tottenham's interest in Ivan Toney, which is reportedly growing and growing. And Spurs are also said to be interested in a certain Greek defender. We're bringing you that and more also in this Last Word on Spurs. And of course, bringing you all the latest team news ahead, of course, of Tottenham Hotspur's home game against Manchester United on Saturday. Let's bring you in, Dave, if we can. You know, we've been crying out for consistency, definitely, in terms of finding that happy medium between our home form and away form to date. Danish, obviously, boss Ponmus Frank believes the team have taken a step forward, both stylistically and structurally, with that win over Copenhagen. But Spurs, we start the weekend at the top of the Premier League table for away matches, whilst being 17th in the corresponding home standings. I mean, there is hope that we'll end this hoodoo surrounding home matches against Manchester United, and it will be a pretty unpredictable test because Ruben Amorim at Manchester United, they've just come into form as of recent weeks. How do you see this one, Dave, at the moment in terms of a game and how it will play out? We'll cover the predictions a bit later on, but the game itself, Dave, how do you see it panning out?
Yeah, look, I think it's an interesting game. I think it's one where there's been a lot of noise around Thomas Frank off the back of that Newcastle and Chelsea sort of couple of defeats. I think the Copenhagen game midweek has sort of eased that a little. But I think this Man United game, I think if we win it, all of a sudden, you know, people look at Thomas Frank in a different light. A lot of that noise sort of quells down. And all of a sudden, I think Tottenham propelled themselves into that top four race then coming off the back of this international break, heading into the festive fixture list. I think if you lose it, though, I think, you know, the same questions sort of rise up about Thomas Frank, you know, that have risen up against the likes of Chelsea and Newcastle, because all of a sudden then it's only 2 wins in 6, you know, or 2 wins in 7 since the last international break. And all of a sudden the good start we had is completely sort of eroded away. And I think it's one that we have to win. When you're looking at Man United are on the same points, but I think we're only 3 or 4 points above sort of dropping down into the bottom half of the table. So I think it would do us the world of good to sort of win this and separate ourselves from the chasing pack heading into that sort of winter fixture schedule. But look, it's not going to be easy. I mean, Man United have had a recent resurgence in recent weeks since this international break. They've beaten the likes of Chelsea. They've beaten the likes of Liverpool. But they tend to win more games when they're sitting back and countering teams rather than being in possession. And I think that that's exactly what they're going to try and do. I think they'll look at our home record. It's been pretty abysmal, 3 wins, you know, at home. I think 3 or 4 wins at home all season. But look, I would urge it's not just been a Thomas Frank injury issue. Let's be honest. This is, you know, stemmed over from a previous regime and stuff like that. And I think Man United will look at it. They'll realise that, you know, for large parts, we are very blunt in attack. I know the Copenhagen game was all about building confidence, but in general, we've been very blunt going forward this season. And I think Man United would look at it and say, well, that's clearly irritating the Spurs fan base. If we sit in and we can contain this for a little while, all of a sudden the crowd will turn and hit them on the counter. This will become a very easy game for Man United. But for me, I think it's just all about that forward line in terms of this project. I think you said it. I think the structure is there in terms of, you know, what Thomas Frank is trying to implement. But I think he'll do himself the world of good in selecting a similar front four that he did against Copenhagen, against Man United tomorrow, because I think that's been where we've been let down going forward. I think there's been too many chopping and changing. And when your problem is going forward, you have to be able to develop partnerships, you know, for them to be able to link up. Because when you're going forward, you're often trying to break down a lot of bodies compared to, you know, you're never breaking on the counter with numbers. You're trying to break down a lot of bodies. So then partnerships become even more crucial and stuff like that. So I think he'd be doing himself a world of favour by selecting Simmons again in the number 10, Udebur off the left. Look, I wouldn't mind Kudus coming back in. It's just a question of how fit is he, and I think Muani has to start up top. And I think it'd be interesting then to see how they get on against Man United, because I think when I looked at that front four, I think it's the best we've looked in general this season going forward. And I know Copenhagen isn't exactly the best litmus test for that, but at the end of the day, it was a confidence builder, and hopefully that'll work out in our favour moving forward. But be warned, Man United take a lot of shots. I think they have the second most shots in the league outside Liverpool on goals. So they will fire from everywhere on the counter-attack. So this game is just about managing possession and looking to break them down. If we can do that, we'll win this game.
Yeah, I mean, John, obviously going back to last season, we don't look to go back to last season too many times, of course, with that Europa League win. But we faced United 4 times last season and won all 4 of them. So it does feel there's a little bit of pressure on the Dane Thomas Frank to try and keep up that record that Ange did set against Manchester United last season. Do you buy, or does it mean anything in terms of that record last season going into this particular fixture? I know, again, not to harp on about injuries. I think United have only got 1 player out, whereas we've got 9 out going into this one. So, does it pay attention last season's games at all into this one?
No, I think last season. We all know that Manchester United are a better team. There would be players there looking for retribution, 100%. In not probably the worst final football has seen. But for Spurs fans, it was magical. But for the neutral, it was shocking. And as Dave said just now about Manchester United, like to let off quite a few shots. The one negative I felt about the game against Copenhagen, which not a lot of people seem to have spoken about, is the fact that they managed to have 12 shots. I mean, granted, they weren't, dangerous shots. We cannot afford to let Man United have 12 shots on goal. The other thing is we were blessed. Let's be serious. We were blessed to be playing a team like Copenhagen who gave Xavi and co all the room they needed to play through, break through the lines. We're not going to be afforded that luxury in any shape, way or form. And, in the shape of Sesko, Cunha and Buemo and Ahmad on the flanks, they've got a lot of counter-attacking pace, which they'll look to exploit on the counter. And then you've got Casemiro and the rat, Bruno Fernandes in the middle there. Mark my words, this ain't going to be an easy game. Three wins and 1 draw. And as Dave said, they've beaten Chelsea and they've beaten Liverpool. But many Spurs fans just seem to think this is going to be a bit of a cakewalk. And because we've beaten them already, I think this could be a really exciting game. I'd like us to play counter-attacking football. Because I think if we push too high up and we press too high, the balls over the top for the Mbuemas and Ahmads could cause us a heck of a lot of problems. Our home form is just abysmal. 4 wins at home. 4 wins at home since November the 3rd, 2024. Absolutely shocking. In fact, we've lost 41 games at home in the league since the stadium opened in 2019. I think it's April the 9th, 2019. We've lost 41 games. We have to arrest, this situation. Our stadium should be a fortress. It's not a fortress in any shape, way or form. Clubs, teams, fans, everyone seems to relish coming to our stadium. And it's not just the big teams, it's the little teams, your Ipswiches and your Leicesters. I'll say little team, they won a title, but I'm saying where they were in the table when they came to play us is not good enough. And the club, the fans, everyone needs to get together and find a way to arrest this. Newcastle have got the opposite problem. It's like a fortress at home, but they struggle away from home. For me, even those people like Lubo and I go to as many away games as we possibly can, I'd rather us win at home and the fans have the backing, and we struggle more away, which is meant to be the hard thing, than what we have right now. We have to arrest it. And this game against Manchester United, right now, the fan base is walking on a tightrope. 1 loss, and there's no safety net. 1 loss, and it's Frank out. 1 win, and it's Frank's the Messiah. I think we just have to have balance. We have to have balance. And as Lubo said early doors, I think from where we are, from a team that lost 22 games last year, finished 17th, and we're really struggling in every aspect of our football, to be where we are right now, I think he's great in the sense that he said he had to arrest our terrible defence. He had to arrest and sort out our set pieces, both defensively and offensively. And I think those 3 aspects, whilst not perfect, are better than they were last season. So I whatever happens, I'm still behind the manager, but it's going to be a tough one tomorrow.
On that point there, I'm bringing Lubo in because it's an interesting point you raised there, Johnny, with regards to the home form, because we've got to touch upon that. Because Frank's made some interesting actually comments in the last 24 hours that he's given to media. If Frank Lubo does beat Ruben Amorim, I think if you look at the table after that game, it will average really 2 points per game, right, in terms of what he would have achieved after it would have been 11 games going into this respective international break. But he's actually said in relation to the atmosphere, he praised the fans, and it was really rocking against Copenhagen, and it was great to see and experience that. It does need to be a collaborative approach between the fans and the players. The more we can push each other to bring that positive energy, the better. Do you share that, Luba? I think I've asked you this before about the atmosphere. Is it a two-way approach, or do you expect the players to lead the way with a brand of football to excite the fans at home?
Well, I look at, when I go to away grounds, I look at the best atmospheres that I go to. You go to St James's Park, you go to Anfield, you go to Forest, Leeds. They're all, forget, before even a ball's been kicked, the fans are up for it and they're buzzing and they're flying throughout the game. And the players feed off the fans as well. So for me, I know there are people that will turn around and say, well, look at the money that fans have to shell out at Spurs. And I get that totally, because I think the fans are overcharged for tickets. I think the fans are being rinsed and have been rinsed for many years, particularly since the new ground was opened. Is it a two-way thing? Yes, I suppose you could say yes, it's a two-way thing. The fans have got to lift the players. And likewise, the players are being paid an awful lot of money. It's up to them to go out and do their best. And I think, if fans see players giving 100%, and that they're full on for 90 minutes, regardless of the result, the fans will get behind them.
And also, just a quick word if I can, Lubo, just come over to you. I think we have seen this week that the club seems to have recognised that the pricing policy they did for the respective Champions League games so far, in terms of the home games, appears to have been recognised by the fact they've been overpriced, because we've now seen they've actually downgraded our next upcoming Champions League fixture to obviously a cheaper price incentive. So is that a recognition there that they've priced that wrongly?
Yes, it's a start. It should have been more. My ticket for Dortmund, instead of costing me £109, will cost 96.
Still too much, Lubo, right?
Way too much. Way too much for group stage.
Not reading the room. They're not reading the room.
They don't. It's and they've never read the room for as long as I can remember. Probably since Scholar. To be fair, regarding fans, the fans get the short straw. Have always had the short straw. Even when we were at Wembley, the communication with the fans about the new ground was just disgraceful. The way that they put the 1882 corporate club into the South Stand was just thoughtless. The way they split up fans from the old ground when the time came to apply for your season ticket in the new ground, they split fans up. It was ridiculous. They put it on loyalty points instead of actually keeping groups of fans together, actually sending a questionnaire out to all the season ticket holders and asking them all what they wanted. The fans were completely ignored. They went down one path, and sorry, the club have got so much to make up for the fans. They're
making steps, though, right, Lubo?
Yes, it's going in the right direction.
100%.
But we've just been looked on as cash cows for many years. Client reference number, not a client. For Christ's sake, I'm a fan. Why have I got a client reference number?
We used to be a name. We used to be a name, Lubo.
We used to be names. I've got a name that name's good enough for all the bills I ever get. What's wrong with the bill from Tottenham to my name?
Exactly. On this point you mentioned there, on that point you mentioned there, Luba, I think it's interesting because it does feel like now, there's going to be a certain element where, let's see, Luba, what's going to change, right? With this, obviously, Lewis family coming in, obviously Daniel stepping aside, because they're meant to be showing us, like they said in that statement, when they decided to obviously boot Daniel out the door, or whether Daniel stepped down, that they want to see more wins more often. They want to see and experience more times like Bilbao, but they're going to have to get that pricing right with fans to allow them to at least go to the stadium as families, right? I think I heard you say this on the 5 recently that, for a family of 4 to go now, it just simply is becoming impossible, given the nature of the pricing. It really, really is. Difficult, Loops. Let you finish on that point.
Well, you've got 4. If you've got a family of 4 members who have struck lucky and have got 4 tickets for tomorrow's game, it's 400. In the upper, in the not the top seats for season ticket holders. Just where I sit, it's going to cost them. In fact, the top price tickets in the West Stand and the East Stand for a family of 4 comes to £436.
Yeah,
that's before travel, food,
food, food,
petrol, parking.
Very, very hard. Very, very hard. Can't get away from that.
And you have to pay to become a member plus to be able to get a ticket.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting time, I think, for football in general, and especially for a club like Spurs, based in London, trying to attract the new fans as well. Because, no disrespect, I think we say this a lot. The fans that we see go week in, week out at Tottenham, this is not an ageist thing, but I think we have one of the more older supporter bases, I would say, in the top 4, the top 6. So it is about trying to encourage that next generation to come through. And obviously, it's easy to do it when you're winning trophies season after season, or you're bringing in really exciting, high quality players season after season. So I think it's going to be a battle. I think it really is. Look, we're going to quickly squeeze in our first break of the show. I'm going to come into what the Lewis family can do to try and definitely get fans on side and turn our attention to Mickey van der Ven, and Dave will kick us off on that debate. Let's quickly hear from Thomas Frank, who discusses the confidence needed in the camp ahead of Manchester United to come on Saturday.
I think every player need confidence. There's every player does that. The best in the world, everyone. Some can say when you go to a new club, I think it's a little bit more evident that it's not that easy just to hit the ground running. But the more confidence you get, the better you play. The more you play, the more, how can you say, relationship you find out to get with your teammates. Step by step. And I agree. I think Xiaomi had a good performance. I think it was positive with a lot of bits. I still think it was a good step. I still think there's a lot of layers to be added to his game, but I was happy with his performance.
So you go. That was Thomas Frank there, who is talking up Xavi Simons, who we hope to expect to feature against Manchester United, of course, for today. For our listeners that are on audio, a big game. Dave, we were speaking there before the break about the nature of the Lewis family and the element of what they can do at the moment, given the window is closed, to try and give fans confidence that they do take Spurs seriously as a football club and do want to take us to the next level. One of the things they can do on that, of course, is tie down a man that's had what a week in the headlines. Of course, Mickey van der Ven, on the back of that unbelievable solo goal against Copenhagen. He's been the talk of the week. There is suggestions out there, Dave, that Tottenham, during this upcoming international break, are very, very keen to sit down with Mickey and to re-engage if they haven't already in talks over a new contract. Just how important would that be, Dave, to tie down probably one of the most exciting central defenders in world football at the moment, and he's a Tottenham player? How important would that be, Dave, on the back of this last week of pretty much amazing headlines that he's had as a Spurs player? And we'll get you to unmute from your side.
I think it's absolutely crucial that we get Mickey van der Ven tied down to a new contract, because when you look at them, what's coming up, there's a centre-back market coming up. Real Madrid are going to look to replace Alaba, Rudiger. Chelsea are looking for centre-backs. Liverpool are looking for someone else to come in alongside Van Dijk, but also be the heir to sort of Van Dijk with him getting on in age. So Bayern Munich would probably be looking for a couple of squads. So there's a lot of big clubs are going to be in the market circling for centre-backs. And right now, why wouldn't you look at Tottenham and Mickey van der Ven? Because a lot of them clubs will be able to offer him a pathway to instant success. So, before he starts getting tempted by other clubs, because right now I think he's actually pretty happy with life at Tottenham Hotspur. I think he's happy to be learning alongside one of the best centre-backs in the world, Christian Romero, and I think he's very comfortable with the partnership there. So I think there's every reason he'll want to sign on the dotted line here. I just think it's about giving the guy the money that he deserves, and then I think it should be done and dusted, and I think it's one that Tottenham need to get ahead ahead of. Because if you don't, with the wages that he's on, I think he's currently on like 50 grand or something like that, you know, all of a sudden the big clubs become a lot more of an allure. So we need to get that tied down pretty quick. And if we do, all of a sudden you price them out of the market. You can start demanding 150, 200 million, just, you know, something ridiculous, so that you sort of want to wane them off. And then that way, you've got your centre-back partnership set up, because Romero's only after signing a new one, you know, for the next, 3 or 4 years at least. Because when I look at this centre-back partnership, it's absolutely crucial to everything we're doing. I think it's the best partnership we've had since Toby and Jan Vertonghen. And, you know, similarly, they're actually very similar to them. Romero's got just as good as passing range as Toby Alderweireld. Mickey van de Ven reads the game superbly like Jan Vertonghen used to do. But when it comes to Mickey van de Ven specifically, I mean, look, right now he's currently the club's top scorer with 6 goals. You know, not only is he putting in monster defensive performances at the back and helping build that solid foundation for us to go and win games, 9 times out of 10 this season, he's also been the match winner. You know, he's single-handedly putting points on the board for Tottenham, dragging us through games. You know, as I famously said when we signed him, I think if he develops, we have £100 million player on our hands. And I think you're looking at that right now. He's got all the attributes. I think the one question mark that I had maybe around him was his, you know, maybe a bit, I would like him to be a bit more aggressive, especially aerially. But I think he's added that to his game. I think he is learning off Romero in that regard. So for me, you know, I think he's one of them players right now that is trying to drag us out of this inconsistent stage and make us more consistent. He's really emerging as a natural leader in this team. So I think it's very, very important that we get him tied down in general. But just quickly, I do want to say, you know, when it comes to the Lewis family and, you know, what else they can do to sort of appease the fan base, to be honest with you, Ricky, I actually think the fans are becoming a bit of a scapegoat for what's gone on at Tottenham in years gone by. You know, it's very easy for Vicario and players to come out and have a pop at the fans. Where's his accountability for some of the stuff we've seen him do on the football pitch? It's very easy for managers to come out and dissolve themselves of all blame and blame the fans. But the reality is, the fans are the only ones that have tried to do anything about the atmosphere. How many different groups that we know of that have popped up, that have tried to liaise with the club to enhance and improve the atmosphere, but have been blocked time and time again in years gone by? And that's something that gets missed in this whole debate, this whole argument. At the end of the day, that stadium, bar maybe Copenhagen, I think that also, the nature of the opponent, I think had some part to do with it, but it's always full. Spurs fans are always buying the merch. We're here before any player, any manager, and we'll be here long after. So I think it's rich that all of a sudden fans are being scapegoated for some weak performances that we've seen in years gone by. You know, at the end of the day, fans have been charged higher prices and walking in and being given Poundland product, you know, so that's where the disparity come in. And at some point, you keep doing that, fans are going to have enough. Fans are going to start voicing their frustration. So for me, I just think fans are becoming a bit of a scapegoat when it comes to, you know, some of the stuff that goes on around Tottenham Hotspur, and I think it's wrong.
Dave, thank you so much for that. I think there'll be many that will echo and agree on those thoughts. I mean, we talk about obviously Lewis family and their intentions and their ambitions of it all. Johnny, just to circle back we can to Mickey for just a second. There is suggestions that Tottenham promised to put Van de Ven on level contract terms with his defensive partner, Christian Romero. Now, Romero, as we know, signed that new deal in the summer that made him the club's highest earner, just shy reportedly of 200,000 per week. Spurs are reportedly set to sit down with Van de Ven during this international break and are hoping to expect to make significant progress to get him this new deal. How important is it, Johnny, to show that ambition because of the nature right now? I would imagine on the back of that goal that he did score, which was incredible, he is, as we see at the moment, one of the most talked about centre-backs in world football. And you don't need to tell you this, there'll be a lot of clubs around the world, the elite clubs, that would have stood up and took notice of that goal coming from a centre-half, which was unbelievable. Although I know he said he used to be a striker back in the day, but unbelievable. I know, again, the opponent was Copenhagen, but still, he looks like a formidable player, doesn't he, Johnny?
Listen, it's not just those games, is it? I mean, we saw him do it before. We saw him do it against Man U. We've seen him do it against Luton. We've seen, you know, lots of times him do, you know, amazing things with the football. We signed him on a 5+1. I don't think there's a panic. Yeah, I don't think any Spurs fans should be panicking yet as to the contract. I mean, obviously, we need to sign him on a new one and put him on parity. We will find out very soon if he has ambitions. Look, the fact of the matter is, when Real Madrid and Barca come calling, it's very, very difficult, no matter who you are, no how much you love a club, to refuse them. We've seen it all before. But right now, as Dave was mentioning, you've got Upamecano at Bayern Munich, who's refusing to sign a new contract. He could be going to a club. You got Mark Gahey's out of contract. You got Konate, who's out of contract. There's going to be a lot of musical chairs going on in the centre back position, and someone's going to miss out, and Mickey's there. But let's be honest, right? We're not selling him. The only way he's been sold is if you come up with some ridiculous telephone number. That's the only way he's getting sold. If he had 2 years left on his current contract, I'd be worried to a certain extent, but I'm not really worried. I think they will come to an agreement that will give him his fee, and if someone wants to buy him, they're going to have to pay through the nose. It's as simple as that. There's very few players that can offer what he offers. I mean, you've got Gabriel, who's a great defender, and most of his strength is at set pieces. But we're also seeing that from Mickey now. I think it's 3 headers or 4 headers. I can't remember now. I lost count. Definitely 2 against Everton.
Yep.
He ticks all boxes, and I agree. I've said it myself. Best defensive partnership since Jan and Toby, and for these 2 guys, they are playing in a system that will suit both of them. This high line that we played last season only suited Mickey, but the work he was having to do put tremendous strain on his hamstring. So, we don't want to be seeing that. Personally, I think we desperately need another quality up-and-coming left centre-back, because he cannot be playing every game. And we've seen when he comes out the team, there's a drop-off. Not to say that Danso's a bad player, but he's not naturally a left-sided player. And so, therefore, for me, we need to move in this market in January and to be looking at getting another left-sided player. But we're fortunate to have him. We're fortunate to have Mickey. And when he talks about layers, Thomas Frank, I think we have the layers at the back, more or less, but we need to build. The guy's had 1 transfer window. Let him breathe. Let's have time, and let's have a realistic perspective on where we go from here. And I won't mention the P word. The one.
I know what you're talking about.
Meant to be the 12th man. We hear it all the time. The fans were the 12th man. That's what we need our fans to be tomorrow. We need our fans tomorrow to be the 12th man. Yeah, if we lose the ball, there's no point booing. There's no point going in the middle of the game, right? Pointless, right? You want to build and encourage the team and let the team feed off. Teams feed off fans. Certainly do, and away fans. Lubo will tell you, when we're there, the Spurs away fans have been unbelievable, and the players all feed off of it.
Agree. Luba, very quickly on Mickey, because we are pushed for time. He's understood that he's loving life at Spurs right now. He's loving living in London. He's loving working under Thomas Frank and playing alongside Christian Romero. And there's a key belief that he's going to sign this new long-term deal because he's very keen to remain alongside Romero in that back line. That's despite reported interest already out there from Bayern Munich, Real Madrid. I mean, are you fairly confident, Lubo? You're not concerned about those clubs at the moment? Like Johnny said, he is still on quite a long-term contract. Do you think there's a need to time down even further? What's your gauge on it for you?
I think the fact he's under contract, to me, if he's not being looked after, then for me the contract's irrelevant, because players force their way out. What I'd love to see, what I'm hoping, is they get him signed up on a contract. Vuskovic continues his development in Germany. And Frank plays Vuskovic, Romero in the middle, and Mickey on the left next season. I think that would be just an awesome 3 to play. I think it'd be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, will be absolutely fantastic. It will indeed be. And one defender to keep an eye on, which apparently I'm being told is left-footed. I don't know if Jonathan knows more, or the guys know more here. I've got to get this right because my wife says, Greek. Konstantinos Golakis is on the list of defensive targets for Spurs in January, and apparently one they would like to bring in to add to their alternative options at centre-half with Kevin Danso and Radu Dragic. The 21-year-old has established himself as a key player for Greece and Wolfsburg following his move from PAOK back in 2014. Although Spurs are not the only club reportedly looking at the player, Liverpool are also keen on him, and Crystal Palace are also potentially showing a degree of interest. So one to keep an eye on there. Like I said, Spurs not particularly, you'd say, short in the centre-back market, but even when you say that, I mean, Ben Davies has been injured for, majority of this season so far. Kevin Danso has done ever so well. I think the problem that we do miss, as you guys know, is that the ability for someone to play those through balls like Romero does. I think that's what we massively miss in this team when you haven't got that ability that Romero does offer. So one to keep an eye on there for certain. We do want to come on to Manchester United because, again, we had a lot of team news come through and some worrying news, again, with regards to Dominic Solanke right now as to how Spurs are going to deal with this injury because, as of right now, Thomas Frank has suggested with Solanke that there isn't a time frame with regards to recovery, and they're going to look at it again after the international break. One player that did impress in a bit of a cameo spell, of course, on, Tuesday, was Dane Scarlett. Let's hear what Thomas Frank had to say on Dane Scarlett.
I think with Dane, first and foremost, I think he's a great player. I think he's a fantastic finisher. He finishes at a very, very high level, left and right foot. I think probably he need the bit that every player needs. He needs to play minutes and games. That's the biggest thing. And right now the competition is tough here. And to be able to give him, let's say, 3, 4, 5 games in a row is probably a little bit difficult. It's never impossible, but it's a little bit difficult. So for me, he needs to play games.
It's interesting. He says there that Dane Scarlett needs to play games. Right now, with all due respect, you look at our forward line, we've got Richarlison, who, quite frankly, he looks anything but Brazilian right now, Richarlison, with all due respect to him. I'm not quite sure what we're seeing with Richarlison at the moment.
He's had a Brazilian. I think that's about all we can say.
It's about as close to Brazil as you'll get with Richarlison at the moment. Moani, look, I agree with what Lubo said earlier. There's certain glimpses you can see. He looks a good player. Obviously, he just needs that goal to go in because I thought it was so unselfish on the Tuesday to set up, of course, Wilson Odobert for the goal. So it just feels at the moment, guys, that forward area is lacking. In terms of, like I say, the teams which we'll come on to in a second, one player that we keep being linked with that isn't going away, Dave, to come over to you, is, of course, Ivan Toney, which at the moment we are hearing strong suggestions that Thomas Frank would be open to bringing Ivan Toney back. And that report is only growing now, given Spurs' lack of firepower at the moment. We know with Solanke, look, he's been out since August. Kolo Muani is yet to score. Matisse Tell, he's just netted 1 in 7 games so far. But Toney hasn't played, of course, in England since leaving Brentford in 2024. He's had a good record out in Saudi. He's gone on to net 41 goals in 59 appearances for his current side. Yes, of course, it's out in Saudi. You can question the opposition that he's playing at right now. But given his experience, Dave, 36 goals in 83 top-flight games for Brentford, and our lack of real firepower up front, is this a serious consideration, Dave, going into January already, that this should be a player we should be looking at? Dave, where are you on that for you? And we'll get you to unmute.
Yeah, I think it's a player that a position that we are sort of forced to look at. But for me, you've already got 3 strikers on the books in terms of Kolo Muani, Dominic Solanke, and Richarlison. And I think realistically, if Spurs were to make a move, I think it all depends on getting Richarlison off the books, to be honest with you. Spurs notoriously don't want to carry, extra players or extra wages and stuff like that. And I really do think it comes down to being able to ship Richarlison off. I think Tuesday night probably signaled the end of his Tottenham career. He came on, massive couple of chances, didn't take them, took a penalty, that he ended up missing on the end of the day. And I just think, when you look at it, it's not getting any better for him. And I think it's clear that, I think for him, for club and player, I think it'd just be good to part ways. But I do think the Ivan Toney one really does all depend on our ability to be able to offload Richarlison. But when it comes to Ivan Toney, look, I really like what I've seen at Brentford of the guy. I was looking at him in the Championship and saying Spurs should maybe take a punt on the guy because he's a player that can hold up the ball. He's got a good passing range. He's very similar to Harry Kane in that regard, but also knows where the net is, can take free kicks as well. So, and he's a player that I think Frank would probably love to link up with again. But also, I think there's a problem with some of these players coming back from Saudi that they have to pay a massive tax bill, or you have to be out for so long. If not, you have to pay a massive tax bill. And I wonder, does that sort of apply when it comes to Ivan Toney as well in that regard? And will that sort of turn him off the move? Because a lot of these people coming back are looking for the club that they're moving to sort of make up that shortfall if they want them. And clubs are sort of very reluctant to do that. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. But for me, look, I actually think Colin Mawani will be the answer. I really like what I've seen from Colin Mawani. I think he's made, he hasn't really been given great service. Okay, the other night against Copenhagen he was, but the games before that, he didn't even have a shot on target coming into the game against Copenhagen. And we haven't really provided him an awful lot of chances. But what I love about him is, he's just so easy to link up with. He can pull like that goal Tuesday night, Ricky, and I actually agree with you. What I loved about that was this is a guy, this difference between him and Richarlison. This is a guy that's starving for his first goal at Tottenham to really kick off his career here.
Yep.
And, I felt if that was Richarlison, he probably would have tried an overhead or something ridiculous like that. Whereas Colin Mawani, he put the team first. He realised, okay, this is a goal. If we can get this, we sort of take the game away from Copenhagen. It's 1-0 at the minute. We do this, the game's done and dusted. And the fact that it's the touch as well. If that was Richarlison, that would have ended up in your hands in the stand, Johnny. But the fact that Mawani, he just plucks it down out the air so gracefully and now's to lay it off. Whereas you look at Richarlison, right near the end, takes the penalty and absolutely misses it. If I was, I think many fans were angry that he didn't give it to Dane Scarlett, especially considering he was the one that done all the work to sort of go and win it. Richarlison also had a couple of chances beforehand that he didn't take. So I think that's the difference between Richarlison and Mawani right there. But I just really like Mawani. Yeah, he missed chances there at the weekend, but that first chance he missed, I think, again, the clear difference between him and some of the strikers we've had, even Dom Solanke, is even though he missed it, you can tell by looking at him, he picked where he was going to put that. Whereas I felt like strikers, in general at Tottenham since Harry Kane sort of rush a lot of their finishes and stuff like that. And I just think their misses come down to games and match sharpness. And I've seen more than enough to look at him and go, he's passed the C&I test. Once this guy gets one, the goals are going to flow. He's a real handful for oppositions. He's not static. He moves about, works hard out of possession, good in the air. He can drive at players, take the ball in behind. I think he's more than enough to be able to alleviate our striker concerns moving forward. You just got to give the guy a little bit of patience.
Yeah, just a yay or nay, Lubo and Johnny, because we've got to move on to Man United quickly. Lubo, yay or nay for Toney in January? Where are you at?
Definitely. I mean, for me, ideally, sell Richie, get Solanke fit, sell him, bring Toney in with Mawani and Scarlett. There's your three for the second half of the season. We'll score goals.
Johnny, you reckon those thoughts? What do you reckon?
I'd take Toney, but acclimatisation ain't going to happen overnight. Personally, I'd take Vlahovic on loan if I had to take a loan. Juventus needs some money. I'm a massive fan of Mawani, absolutely superb. I never thought I'd see the day where he'd be wearing a Spurs shirt. I loved him at Eintracht Frankfurt. I thought I'd never see it.
He could smile a bit more though, John, couldn't he? He could smile a bit more.
Listen, look, let me tell you something.
He looks really depressed in that Christmas advert, doesn't he?
Listen, Richarlison, Solanke combined do not have the technique that Colin Mawani possesses, right? He takes the ball on his shoulder. He takes the ball on his chest. The way he killed the ball, right? The way he brings others in. He's got the legs. He reads the play. You got to be in the position. How many times have we seen balls being put in the box and there's no one there? He put himself in the position. He reads the game well. He brings others into the game. He holds the ball up. We just need quality around him. He's only going to get better.
Yeah.
So that's a yes from me for Toney, right? But if he doesn't come due to tax reasons or, he's Al Hilal aren't going to be happy about him going. We can say all we'd like him, but I don't think so.
Okay. Well, look, one player that's probably going to play a part again in the game, given our nature of injuries at the moment, is Wilson Odobert. Thomas Frank speaking about Wilson Odobert ahead of Manchester United, of course, on Saturday. Let's quickly hear from Thomas on Wilson.
I think, as I said, Wilson before, I think it looks right when he's out there on the pitch. Happy that he got his goal against Copenhagen. I think he looks lively. He's always there. He wants the ball. He's not afraid to get it into feet. Under pressure, he's good to arrive in the box. He's alert.
Thomas Frank's thoughts there on Wilson Odobert. You imagine he's going to be back involved, of course, for this coming game. One player that is not going to be involved, and who knows when he's coming back, is Dominic Solanke. Just Johnny, coming over to you. Just want to get your thoughts on what this even means. Frank says that the forthcoming international break will be the big decider in terms of Dominic Solanke's return to action. What does that mean, the big decider? In terms of what does that even, how do you even fathom or translate what that means?
Listen, I said Reading. I'd said he's got an ankle injury, have the op. He's going to be out for a long time if he doesn't, and he's going to be out. And all I've heard is the same stories, okay? I don't mind a bit of 4D chess when you're playing, a team like you play Man U, but there's no point giving us 4D chess now for the fans. We need honesty, right? If his ankle's gone and the operation's been a mess, then just tell us. Don't keep us hanging on. Like I feel like I've been hooked in. He's on the grass. Takai is on the grass. Everyone's on the grass, and as soon as they hit the grass, they break down. We got 9 players out. Okay, we need to start getting them back. If Dom Solanke is out for a few more weeks or months and it's next year, just tell us. Stop having us on the hook, right? And the fans thinking soon Solanke will be back. Let me tell you, the guy has not played in months. Even when he's back on the grass, it's going to be weeks before we see the Dom Solanke you saw in his prime, mate. Forget it. You're not going to see the best of Dom Solanke, even if he was back till next year. That's just the cold, hard truth, unfortunately. And if it is the truth, which I believe it is, then we desperately need in January, by hook or by crook, we've either got to buy a top striker. I'm not buying any second-rate striker. You either loan a top striker or you do nothing. We cannot be buying, number 5 on the list. It's pointless. Pointless. This is a long-term project, and we only want to see quality in this club now.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting what you do, obviously, of course, in the upcoming window. Frank has actually said he's been asked to rate his time at Spurs, Lubo. He says it's been super exciting, a big learning curve, but says it's still a work in progress. He says we are far from where I want us to be, but I've got no doubt we will get there. Is that a fair assessment on what he's made of it so far?
Very, very fair assessment. Frank can only do the best with what he's got. And what he's got is not good enough to challenge for the top 4. And that's where we need to be. Agreed. He's come in. We've had 2 years of horrendous coaching and the way they've played. So he's had to get that out. We conceded 126 goals in 2 seasons. I mean, just dreadful. So he sorted out the defence, which is great. The defence is the strongest part in terms of player ability in the team. He's going to work the way through. He's only had 1 transfer window. I don't know what people expect him to do. I think for where we've been this season, throughout the season, I think he's done a great job. I really do. Listen, he's not perfect. He's made mistakes. For me, I wouldn't be playing a double pivot at home. I think it's very negative. Apart from that, we can always argue about we should have picked him instead of him. That's subjective. That's at the end of the day, he's a football coach. He knows what he's doing. He sees these players in training. He knows a lot more than we do. And I think, he did a great job at Brentford. Why wouldn't he do a good job at Spurs?
I agree. It's actually in this game, going into it in even more detail, he says everyone's come through the midweek game well. Kudus is touch and go for the weekend. He says Romero and Udogie have who reset small spells on the sidelines and responded well. So I presume Romero and Udogie are I presume they should be okay and not too away from being able to play the game, you'd hope. I think in terms of United, they are going into the game in great form. Frank says he's excited, looking forward to the challenge. He said on facing a Ruben Amorim side, we know exactly what to expect from them. We know that they're incredibly dangerous in terms of the front 3 they possess. They're starting to get up to speed, so we need to close them down well. We'll do everything we can to come out on top of the game. You said there, Lubo, about maybe not starting Bentancur and Polina together. Gut feeling is, I feel like he will probably put them together in this game against Man United. Do you agree?
I agree. I hope not. I really do. Not? No, I hope he plays Saul with Bentancur tomorrow.
Okay. So what you drop Pelini to the bench?
Sorry, beg your pardon. Sorry, my fault. Correction. I played Pelini and Saar, and I dropped Bentancur to the bench.
Okay. Are we in agreement with that one? Dave, where are you on that very quickly? What does he do for you? Let's get you to unmute Dave on that point.
No chance.
No, I couldn't disagree more, to be honest with you. I think, the fact what people miss with that double pivot is it makes us harder to break down. They're so disciplined in their roles. Like, I think many people are expecting Bentancur, to sort of operate as a number 8 and sort of get forward. But that's not what Frank is asking of these two players. I mean, look, Jamie Carragher came out with a spectacular analysis there last week, and he went after Paulinho. But I mean, Paulinho has 7 goal contributions this season. He's our second top goal scorer at the club, 4 goals, 3 assists, So, I mean, the attacking output is there to maybe suggest that maybe Carragher was a bit off on that one. But also when it comes to Rodrigo Bentancur, since he's been criticised, he's grabbed a couple of goals and an assist as well. So for me, I don't think they're the problem. I actually think, you need them. I think people miss what Thomas Frank was asked about Bergvall, potentially playing there earlier on the season. He said he just runs. We have to keep screaming at him not to run. He wants 2 disciplined generals in that midfield. And I think as much as the back line give you the ability to be able to go and win games by keeping it tight, that midfield is absolutely crucial. We don't get opened up or ran through near as much as we used to in years gone by. And I do think part of that, especially last season, was the youthfulness and the inexperience in the middle of that park. And I think, one thing people miss with Bentancur is Paulinho's destroyer. But Bentancur is the guy that dictates the tempo. He gets on the ball in tight spaces, moves that ball, around the pitch. And, there was a passing map put out there a couple of weeks ago. But since then, there hasn't been any passing map around social media because it doesn't suit the narrative. Because he's been pinging balls around the pitch, left, right, and centre. So for me, I just think there's a bit of an agenda. I think people are sort of scapegoating Bentancur to a large degree, and I don't think he's as bad as people make out to be. I think they're putting all of our attacking woes further back the pitch, even though these defensive guys are the ones that are winning us games. Van de Ven, top scorer. Paulinho, second top scorer. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we can keep making, some of these guys the problem, but the reality is they're not the problem.
Dave, can I come back on that, Ricky?
Oliver, yeah, go for it.
Look at our home record this season, 4 points from 5 games. We don't progress the ball up because of Pelini and Bentancur quickly enough at home. I'm sorry, and we don't break down low blocks. We need somebody who can either run with the ball and go and commit players to pull them out of position, or someone to get the ball up to the front players quicker. We don't do that, and because of that, teams are in 2 banks of 4 or 9-10 behind the ball, and we can't break them down.
You haven't done that for the last 20 games at home.
Yeah, but I think
down with a low block. Whoever's played, why is it suddenly Bentancur and Paulinho's fault?
Like, I thought that's what we brought in.
It's not a question of faults. It's to me, it's just a question of style.
Yeah, no. But I think, why did we spend 60-odd million on Kudus? Why did we bring in Xavi Simons? These are players that we brought in to help that situation. At the end of the day, I think one player that I don't think anyone's talking about that actually sort of contributes a lot to the horseshoe football that we're seeing, and it's not through any fault of his own, but it's Jed Spence when he plays at left back. There's no coincidence our 2 best performances this season, Copenhagen and Leeds United, Destiny Udogie played at left back. And when Jed Spence plays there, because he's right footed playing on the left hand side, he's limited in terms of the speed of attack that we can do down that side. So he's constantly looking to pass inside. And when that ball is rotating inside, a lot of times the midfielders are left with no option but to move that ball out the other side and try and transition it quickly. When Destiny Udogie plays there, he brings that speed of attack down that side, which means then, we can go at them down the left and down the right. And it's not just so predictable. And I think that's been one of our biggest problems. Udogie's been injured. We're having to play right-footed overs there, which then is sort of, hindering your attack, because when Udogie's left, with him being left-footed and playing down there, he can dribble directly down that side. He can play balls directly into Wilson Odegaard's feet. Whereas when Jed Spence plays there, a lot of the attacks are breaking down because the ball keeps coming back inside. And I think there is your biggest problem, rather than someone like Rodrigo Bentancur, and also the 4 players not producing. And look, we can sit here and sort of, excuse Frank of all blame, but the reality is he's been given big money to help across that forward line. And you would argue, when you look at it, is he getting the best out of any of them? I think then at what point do you maybe look at the tactics that we're employing going forward? Now, the good thing with Frank is I think in recent weeks in possession, we sort of turn into a back 3 and we're different going forward, and that has helped us, and we have looked, a little bit better. But, my point in case in that is, although Richarlison is limited, although Johnson is limited, I'm not being funny, but Postecoglou got a lot more out of them, you know. So that's at what point then do you maybe question the system? We can sit here and pretend he hasn't been given help in the front line, and we can sit here and make it a Rodrigo Bentancur problem or all we want. But the reality is the problem is further up the pitch. That's why our home form is absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
We've lost the ability to be able to win games. Selling Kane and Son and not replacing them has hindered us massively.
No, I don't agree on that.
One player, it seems to be that they want to blame one player for the demise of everything, and I'm not having it. Personally, tomorrow, if Kudus is out, Ricky...
He's touch and go, isn't he? He's touch and go tomorrow. Kudus.
Yeah, he's touch and go. He's touched the grass, so which could mean the end of it. Listen, look, Kudus, he needs to up his game as well. Too many touches on the ball, holds onto the ball too long. There are moments where he just needs one touch to bring another player in and he holds onto it too long. But for me, if he's missing tomorrow, I know it's not popular, but it's something I've asked to see for a long time. I want to see Destiny Udogie on the left. I want to see Jed Spence on the right. And Kudus is out. I want to see Pedro Porro play as a wing back, as a winger, right? He doesn't need to beat his man. He can whip those balls in quick. It'll give them something to think about. And had Xavi Simons tucked in behind Kolo Muani, and on the left-hand side, Wilson Odobert. I think it's holding the ball up. This whole thing that it's Rodrigo Bentancur's fault that we're not progressing the ball. I don't buy it personally. I think he's got a great relationship with Cuti Romero, where he picks up the ball and progresses it. It's the quality of the hold-up play. And we saw against Copenhagen, I know he had lots of space, but look how well Kolo Muani held up the ball and brought others into play. And it's up to Xavi Simons tomorrow to try and be big and be strong and stand up to it, and not be pushed off the ball. I know the plan probably at Chelsea was for extra physicality in that middle of the park with Bergvall. It didn't, unfortunately, last. It's a tough game tomorrow. But
massively tough game.
It's a real tough game, but I do think it's crucial that we can get the ball up to Muani and he brings others into play. We started to see a relationship building between Wilson Odobert, Kolo Muani, and Xavi Simons. And that relationship is going to be crucial when we form those triangles in the final third of the pitch. It's the progression between that middle of the park and to the final third. As he said, phase 1, lovely. Phase 2 is okay. Phase 3 has been poor.
Yeah, it's not been great. It's not been
And
great.
it's not been poor, and that's where we need to. Bring players in.
Can I just say, I totally agree on Lubo's point there. You know, definitely in certain home games, I don't think you need to deploy both Bentancur and Polino. I agree with Lubo. I think he will tomorrow. I know Lubo said this. He will go with Polino, but I think he will go with Polino and Bentancur because that's what he feels is the tried and tested to give him that protection with the defenders behind him. But I just wonder, the one player that we've not spoken about, which, you know, again, really does fair to say, split opinions, right? I know we've got to to an hour mark here, so we've got to wrap up shortly. Lubo, Brennan Johnson was the man that decided, of course, the Europa League final not too long ago and brought Spurs their first European trophy in 40 years, their first trophy in 17 years. In this conversation, nobody's mentioned him. He was the club's top goal scorer last season. He scored, of course, in the previous game against Copenhagen. You could argue, is there not an argument that, given our lack of deficiencies up front, does Brennan Johnson have no role whatsoever right now in this team? Is he merely just being seen as a squad rotational player?
I think we play a different way this season than we did last season, where he came in on the back post for a lot of crosses. We don't play that way, and haven't done this season. A complete change of style. Unless he's scoring, he's not doing much, is he? You know, and
no, but I mean, at the moment, because Lubo, we are at the moment. I know we're the top goal scorers at the moment of the division, but let's not get away from it. We know we've struggled up front. Is there not an argument to say Brennan there's a number 9, or do you just don't think that's going to work? Given our I don't think given our lack of options up there at the moment. And look, Muani may turn into scoring loads of goals for us, but where are you on that? Would you not deploy Johnson as a 9?
You could do, or play him as an inside forward, where he's going to, you know,
because he can finish, right? And we saw it again on Thursday.
Yes.
Tuesday, he can finish.
It was an excellent finish. It was a superb finish, and you know what? Simmons played the ball early. And that's what you've got to do. You know, Tuesday was encouraging, because in the previous games we play like a tortoise. We're so slow in our build-up. You know, Palhinha wins it, he gives it to Bentancur. Bentancur won't play those forward passes the way Romero does. Just won't do it. So for me, I'm sorry. You don't need,
pass the ball.
you don't need two CDMs when you're playing at home. That's really negative.
I agree with you, Lubo, but I think because it's Man United, I think he will do it. I agree with what you're saying. I think it's Man United. I think he will do it because I think he will be very cautious of that front three United have got. And I think even more so, that's the reason why he'll deploy two. I'm with you, Lubo. I don't think we should be playing two defensive mids at home. I don't. And I know there's a lot of people also that echo those thoughts in the comments. Look, going to this United game itself, as we know, look, it's going to be tough. And the reality is that Spurs and United is seen as a glamour tie, right? It always has been as a home tie, you know, a glamour tie, a glamour Premier League game, of course, with Spurs being home. We've discussed about the fact Spurs beat United 4 times last season. And, you know, there may be pressure on Frank to go and prove he can do that against United. Where are the concerns for United? I think, you know, Johnny, you said for you, Fernandes we need to keep an eye on. Any other concerns for you that we need to be wary of ahead of United?
I mean, look, come on. The attack of Ahmad and Waymo with their pace and Matheus Cunha, he done damage when we played Wolves before. He's a magical player. He's got a beautiful foot. Brings players into the game. Look, they got a great attack. What they don't have is they play in patches. The one thing is Thomas Frank knows exactly what he's going to be doing tomorrow. He's going to be playing free at the back. He's going to be looking at transitions. So he knows full well. It's how we cope with the situation, how he sets up. I would have thought Kudus will be a huge blow to him because that will give them something to think about and try and negate some of their attacking play along that side. But that's why I said, for me, I'd rather see Pedro Porro play on that right-hand side than any Brennan Johnson on that side. I must give Brennan Johnson, though, full applause because he did something I hadn't seen in a long time. He actually took on his man and beat him. It only happened once, but he did it. He took him on, and I stood up and gave him a round.
I tell you what, though, John, I hear you on that, but I wish some of our players could finish like him. You know, in front of goal, you've got to say he's a finisher, isn't he? I mean, that's my worry at the moment. You know, I think you actually said in our previous show, is there an argument, I keep on saying this, at some point in a game, we do seem deployed as a 9 because in front of goal, he looks the most confident at the lot at the moment, doesn't he, John? Or you disagree?
I just look for physicality.
Yeah, I get that.
And technical ability. Kolo Muani, you're not getting past Kolo Muani with me. We would have to be in a situation where there was no Richarlison and there was no Muani and no Dane Scarlett for me, for Brendan Johnson.
Just very quickly on this, will Dane get games between now and January? Will he get games? I mean, Frankie's sitting there saying he needs games. Well, he's the manager. He could play him.
Look, he couldn't play for Portsmouth. He struggled to get a game for Portsmouth. I think we're getting a bit carried away, you know?
Okay.
When you struggle to get game time for Portsmouth and you haven't got a loan away, I'm not saying he's a bad player, but I think this expectation.
I saw more from that little flick and trick he did than Richarlison did the whole time he was on.
No, listen, I'm not knocking the kid, right? I'm really not.
Yeah.
But you know, there are levels, and he's 21 years of age. It's not to say he won't go on to become a very good player. I can see him coming on as a sub, but I don't see him starting. Why not bring him on? If listen, I don't believe Muani's still got not 90 minutes in him. So why not put him on for 15 minutes if we're chasing a game? Why not? I've got no problem with that.
No, Luba, very quickly. What do you think? Very quickly.
The last time I saw Scarlett last season, I think he came on at Ipswich, flicked the ball on for Kulu, and that finished up in the back of Ipswich's net. So he seems to come on for these little cameos, and he creates, he contributes.
That's what I mean.
Not 90 minutes though, is it, Lubo?
No, it's not. It's not. But then you've got Muani. I think he's got a problem if Muani's not firing. But tomorrow I see tomorrow's Muani's day. I think he will
agree. Yeah,
and
Simmons as well. I mean, and Simmons as well, right? And Simmons as well. Especially if Kudus is touch and go and he's not to feature, could be a massive day, like you say there, for both Mwani and Simmons. Lubo.
Yeah, I'd go and match United with 3 at the back. I mean, Danso, Romero, Van der Ven.
Yep.
I'm sure he'll start Paulinho and Bentancur. You've got Porro and Udogie as your wing backs, and they are proper wing backs. You'd be playing them to their strengths, and Simmons tucked in between either behind Mwani and either Kudus or Johnson for me, or Odebear for that matter. For me, Odebear's right-footed, so for me, I'd rather play him on the right than the left. Odebear, I think he'd do better, and for me, if they can get Udogie's final ball improved, he is. I mean, he's going to be one hell of a player.
He is indeed. Right, guys, we're going to go to predictions. United actually at the moment, I can't believe this is such a crazy stat. I can't believe it's actually Tottenham versus Man United. United, they're winless in the last 7 meetings against Spurs, losing the last 4 of them, and the last team to win 5 in a row against the 20-time top flight champions with Liverpool between 2000 and 2002. Crazy, crazy stats. So, look, I know there's going to be an easy game against Man United, and we know it's coming just before an international break. We did in that curse before the previous international break. Boys, let's get some predictions. Dave, been lovely having you back. You'll, of course, be providing instant reaction. Your face will be telling us the story as the game unfolds over at the Irish Hotspur. Dave, prediction, what are we going for?
Look, it's not going to be an easy game, but I think we have more than enough to be able to take 3 points here against Man United. Yeah, they've had a little bit of a resurgence lately. But look, it's time to sort of dampen that down, send them back to their leaky stadium, and put them back in their dark days, because I think that's when I enjoy them more. They've cleaned up more than enough trophies across the domestic game in years gone by to allow other teams to do that now. For me, I'm going to go 2-1. I think, again, it's going to be decided by a goal here or there, but I'm going to go 2-1. Just quickly, though, when it comes to Dane Scarlett,
go, Dave.
I don't see – I just – honestly, I think it just comes down to having the cojones to do it. I think, what was it? Tim Sherwood done it for Harry Kane. He come out and famously said, Levy asked him why he wasn't playing Soldado, and he just said, "But do you want to win games or not?" So I think it comes down to having the cojones to do it. Pochettino, when things weren't going well, he binned off a lot of guys that we pay big money for and on big wages and brought players through from the academy. And I think it just comes down to Frank having the cojones to do it. At the end of the day, Lubo pointed out, the other game he missed was the Hotspur game. We were only 1-0 up, made it look difficult. He came off the bench, 1 goal and 1 assist that night. And you look at his performance the other night. So for me, at what point do you go, okay, Richarlison, you're not producing, you can't hold up a ball and stuff like that? What point do you then start giving Dane Scarlett minutes? Like you said, the only way he's going to improve by minutes, well, give him the minutes instead of keep giving, the Brazilian that we paid all this money for that isn't producing. And when it comes to Johnson, just quickly, can't hold up a ball, can't play with his back to goal, will never, ever be able to play through the middle.
Dave, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. We look forward to seeing you back with us next week. You've been a superstar over at the Irish Hotspur. Check Dave out. Lubes, let's go to you very quickly. What are we going for weekend before an international break? God, I can't stand 2 weeks of moaning and groaning. Got to win a win, don't we?
I'm confident. Mwani double 2-1 Spurs.
Okay, love it. Fantastic.
Tight game, but I think he will be the difference.
Brilliant, superb. They'll be back on the 5, of course, on Monday to give you the breakdown on there. Not literally breaking down, although I can't promise that. Johnny will be with him on Monday. John, what are we going for? How do you see it playing out?
Well, when I thought Kudus was playing, I was going 3-2 Spurs. But I'm going for the same as Lubo, actually. And I'm definitely going Mwani to really have a major influence on this game. He's sniffing it out, definitely. I think all's possible. This is going to be a tough game. It could be anything, this game. It really could be. But please, fans, should we lose it, don't go in a meltdown. They've just beaten Chelsea. They've just beaten Liverpool. They're only playing 1 game a week. They got a whole week to prepare, right? You've seen the teams that only have 1 game a week, how much better that they're doing than the teams that are playing 2 or 3 times a week. So bear that in mind.
Sure, it will be calm, John. Sure, it will be calm no matter how it works out. I'm sure it will be.
I'll be there.
Well, I'll be there. Listen, I want to say massive thank you to the boys over at the Spurs 5, Johnny and Lubo. Thank you so much. Dave, thank you so much over at the Irish Hotspur. Guys, thank you so much to the wonderful audience that have watched us live here. Over 3,500, 4,000 across Twitch, across Instagram, across our Facebook and YouTube. As always, thank you for your support. Let's see what Spurs offer us up. Let's hope to finally end this home curse and finally get us off the mark again since the Burnley game. From Johnny, from Lubo, from Dave, from me, we've been the last one on Spurs. Keep safe, keep well. And as always, Come on, you Spurs.